If you think the fastest way to make a man fall for you is by touching him more, you're wrong. In fact, there are 3 places you should never touch a man unless you want him to be emotionally addicted to you. Because the truth is, the power of attraction doesn't start with what you do to him. It starts with what you make him feel. And once you understand these 3 hidden places, he won't just be attracted, he'll be captivated. Let's start with the first one, his ego. When you constantly compliment him, reassure him, or make him feel like he's the center of your world, you're touching his ego. It feels good at first, but soon he stops earning your admiration and starts expecting it. Real connection begins when you challenge his ego, not inflate it. The second place is his comfort zone. If you always chase, call, and fix things, you remove the tension that builds desire. Let him feel your absence sometimes. That's when his mind starts craving your presence. The third is his vulnerability, his softest spot. Never touch that carelessly. When a man opens up emotionally, it's sacred ground. Touch it only when you're ready to stay. If this is opening your eyes, pause for a second and think of one time you gave too much too soon. What did it teach you? Share it in the comments because that's how you grow stronger. And if you want him truly hooked, keep listening. The real secret is coming next. There are 3 spots on a man's body that you should never touch unless your goal is to make him think about you constantly, every single day. Sounds dramatic maybe, but once you understand what happens in his mind and body when these areas are touched in the right way, you'll see this is not just a flirtation game, it's pure chemistry. Most people assume attraction starts with what you see. The truth is, it begins with what you touch, and even more importantly, what you avoid touching. The fastest way to make a man crave you isn't by giving everything away. It's by knowing how to hold back at exactly the perfect moment. And before you jump ahead, no, I'm not talking about obvious areas. Everyone knows those. I'm talking about the quiet spots, the ones that make his body pause for a moment, his breath shift, and his mind go blank. These places aren't just about lust, they're about trust. The first time I realized this, I thought it was a myth. How could a single brush or gentle pause make a man feel more hooked than anything else? But then I watched it happen. The look in his eyes wasn't just desire, it was surrender. Here's why this happens. Human attraction isn't random. Touch is the oldest language we have, older than words, older than eye contact. Every inch of skin has sensors connected directly to the emotional centers of the brain. Touch the right spots, and you bypass logic entirely, going straight to memory. That's why one moment of touch can last longer than an entire conversation, or even a kiss. But here's the risk. Touch these spots without care, and it can backfire. He could feel uneasy, guarded, or worse, disconnected. That's why I said never touch them unless you want him hooked. Now, before I show the first spot, remember something important. Attraction is tension, not chaos, not drama. Tension. It's the pull between what he feels and what he wants next. You don't create that pull by being obvious. You create it by understanding how curiosity, restraint, and rhythm work together. This isn't about manipulation. It's about awareness. When you know what your touch communicates, you stop guessing and start guiding. The first spot is surprisingly innocent, the back of his neck. You might think it's just a neutral area, but it's one of the most ancient erogenous zones, linked to both dominance and vulnerability. Biologically, when someone touches the back of our neck, it triggers a primal reaction, a mix of alertness and surrender. For a man, that's a paradox he can't ignore. A light touch there, timed perfectly, can turn his confidence into softness in seconds. But the secret isn't pressure, it's the pause. When your fingertips linger just enough for him to feel your warmth, then leave before he expects it, his nervous system goes into overdrive. He feels something building but doesn't get closure. That unfinished moment loops in his head long after the touch is gone. This is the psychology of anticipation. The same principle behind storytelling, music, and yes, chemistry. Close the loop too quickly and the tension dies. Leave it open just enough and it becomes obsession. Next time you're close, don't start with his face or chest. Walk behind him. Let your hand slide slowly from his shoulder to the base of his neck. Pause there. Let your fingertips rest for a heartbeat. Then move away as if it was accidental. Watch his body, the micro freeze, the half-caught breath. He won't say anything, but his body will. That single moment will replay in his memory, quietly planting a question he can't shake. Why did that feel so good? That's the power of touch done right. But that's just the first spot. 2 more remain, one that boosts his protective instinct and one that turns off his logical brain entirely. We'll get to those. For now, remember this: attraction isn't about doing more, it's about doing less with precision. Touch less, mean more. Speak less, make him feel more. When you do, his body starts listening before his mind even catches up. The second place you should never touch a man unless you want him completely hooked is his lower back. Not the spine itself, not the obvious curves, but that small stretch of skin right above the waistband, where his body naturally warms under clothes. That area is full of sensory nerves that detect temperature and subtle movement, which is why even the lightest touch there can make him flinch or inhale sharply. The lower back sits at the crossroads of safety and surrender. It's where the body signals trust. When someone lets another person get that close, defenses drop. That's why this spot is powerful. It's not just about sensation, it's about permission. Touch a man there, and you're silently saying, you belong close. The psychology is simple but strong. That area is usually protected by clothing, posture, and habit. Breaking that boundary gently flips a subconscious switch. He feels something deeper than arousal. He feels seen, accepted, safe. Yet this is also where many go wrong. Too firm, it feels controlling. Too quick, it feels meaningless. The secret is balance. Slow, grounded, intentional. Think of your touch as a sentence. Every fingertip movement is a word. When you place your hand on his lower back, you're saying, I know where you're strongest, and I know how to calm you there. The biology is fascinating. That skin links to the vagus nerve, controlling relaxation and heart rate. A slow, warm touch releases oxytocin, the trust hormone, and dopamine, the anticipation chemical. That's why the effect lasts longer than expected. He might not know why he feels drawn to you. He just does. Use it wisely. Stand next to him. Don't grab or lean. Let your fingers barely rest there as you pass behind him or guide him somewhere. The goal is to make it feel unplanned but intentional. Subtle intention is the language of attraction. Done right, this touch says, I see your strength, but I also see the part of you that wants to relax. That dual message is addictive because most men rarely receive it. Many associate touch with performance, not comfort. When you flip that, your touch says, you can stop performing now, cutting through every defense. He won't crave the touch itself. He craves the feeling of being allowed to rest in it. There's another layer. The lower back is also the hinge of movement, the center of gravity. Touch it, and you subtly influence his posture. You can draw him closer without pulling, guide him forward without words. That physical dynamic translates emotionally into leadership through softness. You're leading without force. And that paradox is what keeps his focus locked. Attraction built on control can fade. Attraction built on calm guidance lasts. Test it. Next time you walk past him, let your fingertips glide across that area, then step away before he notices. Don't look back immediately. Give him time to register it, to wonder if it was deliberate. That question will echo. His brain will replay it, not because of lust, but because the touch created a gap, an unanswered message. This is called the unfinished cue effect. The mind hates open loops. It wants closure. When you leave a touch unresolved, he unconsciously looks for it again to complete the feeling. This is the same principle that makes people addicted to cliffhangers, songs that fade out mid-note, or stories that never fully finish. In physical chemistry, the same rule applies. What's left undone becomes unforgettable. But here's the warning. This isn't a trick to manipulate him. It's a reminder to respect the line between interest and intrusion. The key is reading his response. Does he lean into the touch? Does his breathing deepen? If so, his body is saying yes. If he stiffens or pulls away, step back. Awareness is what separates connection from confusion. When you use this spot correctly, it's not about dominance or seduction, it's about harmony. His nervous system begins to mirror yours, matching your rhythm, your calm, your pace. That's how intimacy becomes magnetic instead of mechanical. And here's a secret few people realize. When a man feels guided through safety rather than forced through excitement, his mind links that comfort to the person giving it. That's why he keeps returning sometimes without understanding why. The lower back is your silent way of telling him he's allowed to let go. But there's still one place left, the most powerful of all. The one that overrides logic, memory, and resistance instantly. It's not where most think, and it's not something you can fake. It's where every addictive touch starts and ends. The third place you should never touch a man unless you want him hooked isn't a physical spot at all. It's the space between his mind and body, the invisible connection that forms when you touch him while staying fully present. Most people think attraction is all about technique. The truth is, a man's deepest attachment comes from emotional alignment. When you touch him, but your mind is elsewhere, your energy feels scattered, distant, and he senses it immediately. When you touch him while fully focused, breathing with him, noticing the small changes in his expression and the way his muscles respond, his nervous system mirrors yours. That's what makes the moment unforgettable. It's not what you do, it's how aware you are when you do it. Neuroscience calls this limbic resonance, a state where two people's emotional systems sync like instruments tuned to the same note. For him, it feels like connection. For you, it feels like influence. The paradox is, he can't explain why it feels so intense. He only knows that when you touch him, it feels different from anyone else. This is where attachment begins, not in his skin, but in his memory. His brain starts linking you with a specific emotional state. Calm, intense, safe, mixed with desire. Every time he experiences that combination, he thinks of you. That's why the most irresistible touches are paired with emotional presence. A distracted touch is forgettable. A conscious touch rewires memory. Here's how to activate it. When you're near him, take a quiet breath before you move. Let your thoughts settle until you can feel your heartbeat. Then touch him. It can be anywhere, the neck, the back, the arm. But when your body is aligned with your focus, it changes the energy of the moment. He'll feel it even if he doesn't fully understand why. The air thickens, his breathing adjusts, and time seems to slow. This isn't magic. It's biology. The brain picks up tiny signals of attention and intention. When you give both, he experiences magnetism. It's the same energy artists feel when immersed in their work or athletes feel in a flow state. Here, the art is touch, and the canvas is his awareness. You're no longer just touching him. You become the environment he senses internally. That's why he can't stop thinking about it later. His body remembers before his mind catches up. But you must be careful. The power of presence can create dependency if misused. You don't use it to control, you use it to deepen authenticity. You're not giving him attachment to manipulate, you're showing what real attention feels like. In a world full of distraction, that kind of focus is rare and unforgettable. When he feels it, he doesn't crave the physical touch, he craves the peace it brings. That's why this third place is so powerful. It's not a body part, it's a state of mind. When you master it, you can guide any moment without words. You can silence noise without speaking. Think about how most people interact, rushed, mechanical, half present. Now imagine the opposite, slow, deliberate, fully tuned in. The energy changes completely. You're not trying to please him. You're leading him into calmness that feels like desire. The difference between need and connection is focus. Touching without awareness gives pleasure. Touching with awareness gives imprint. He begins associating you with a feeling he can't find anywhere else. That's the real secret of attachment. It's not the body that becomes hooked. It's the brain seeking a rare experience. How do you apply it? Next time you reach for him, even something as small as adjusting his shirt or brushing lint from his collar, slow down. Notice where you touch. Feel the fabric, the warmth of his skin. Don't rush. When your movement carries intention, it transmits certainty. Certainty feels like confidence. Confidence mixed with gentleness feels like gravity. That draws him in. Presence turns you from a participant into the center of the moment. Every man wants to feel desired, but few feel truly seen. When your awareness becomes the touch, you give him both. Once a man experiences that kind of connection, he doesn't want to lose it. It's no longer lust, it's imprint. That imprint keeps him returning, searching for the calm, rhythm, and unspoken understanding that happens when someone touches not just his skin, but his entire sense of being. That's the final, most powerful place. Once you reach it, every touch that follows feels inevitable. Now you know the 3 places you should never touch a man unless you want him hooked: the back of his neck, the lower back, and the space between his mind and body. When these 3 align, something subtle but intense happens. You stop being someone who touches his body and become someone who guides his chemistry. Each point activates a different layer of him: instinct, trust, and emotional alignment. Together, they form what psychologists call a bonding loop, a cycle where pleasure and attachment reinforce each other. It's the same mechanism that makes a song replay in your head or a scent remind you of someone unforgettable. But unlike songs or smells, this loop is built through living touch, making it far more intense and far harder to forget. Here's how it plays out in real time. When your fingertips brush the back of his neck, his primitive brain lights up with alertness and curiosity. He feels a spike of awareness, the kind that wakes every nerve along his spine. Then, when your hand moves lower to his back, the signal travels inward toward comfort. His muscles relax, his breathing evens out, and his body says, "I trust this." Finally, when your presence wraps around the touch, your breath steady, your focus absolute, his nervous system can't tell where his body ends and yours begins. That moment is the real addiction, the feeling of unity. It's what every human secretly craves beneath all the noise of attraction. What makes this so rare is how little it depends on words. You could say nothing and still make him feel more seen than hours of conversation ever could. The reason is that conscious touch becomes language. Every motion, pause, or tiny adjustment communicates something that bypasses logic. Most people communicate with words to be understood. You're communicating with touch to be felt. The deeper irony is that the less effort you put in, the stronger it becomes. When you stop trying to impress or prove and simply tune in, your energy steadies. That steadiness translates to control, and control under calmness feels irresistible. Men, even confident ones, rarely experience moments where they can fully relax without losing face. When you create that space, his mind links it to you. You become the calm in his system, the eye of his internal storm. That's what keeps him thinking about you long after. It's not what you did, it's the emotional state you put him in. This is where presence turns into influence. The longer he feels grounded with you, the more he unconsciously seeks that grounding. Again, the addiction isn't just to pleasure, it's to peace. That's the paradox no one talks about. The most powerful seduction isn't chaos, it's calm. The secret isn't intensity, it's intentionality. When you know how to slow down, guide, and breathe, you become the rhythm he didn't know he needed. The best part is you don't need to exaggerate or play games. You only need to notice the tiniest shifts, his breathing, the flicker of his eyes, the way his shoulders drop when he exhales. These are all feedback loops. The more you observe them, the more in sync you become, until he starts responding to your energy without realizing why. That's the real mastery of connection. Not words, not rules, but awareness. When you combine awareness with restraint, you create suspense. And suspense is where all addiction begins, because the human brain is wired to chase what it cannot fully predict. When you give him a taste of connection, then step back, his mind fills the gap. He imagines, replays, wonders. That's why half of attraction happens in absence, not contact. Every pause becomes a silent invitation. You're no longer chasing attention, you're pulling it. The more still you are, the more he moves toward you. That's the gravity of emotional chemistry. Here's what most people don't expect. This level of awareness can change more than your love life. When you learn to manage energy and focus, you also learn to lead. You become sharper in conversation, more grounded in presence, and more magnetic in silence. The same psychology that keeps him drawn to you is what makes anyone want to follow someone confident yet calm. The true art of touch is really the art of energy direction. When you can move, pause, and focus it, you can change not just how others feel about you, but how you feel about yourself. That's the hidden reward. You're not just mastering connection with him, you're mastering connection with yourself. Once you reach that point, the line between attraction and authenticity disappears. You stop performing. You start radiating. But there's still one final question. What happens when he begins to feel the same loop back toward you? When the addiction reverses, when the touch you once controlled starts echoing through his actions, words, and presence, how do you hold that power without losing yourself? That's the next step, and most people are never ready for it. When he starts mirroring your energy, everything shifts. The balance you once guided becomes a reflection. This is where most people lose control. They mistake his attachment for validation, his attention for proof. The truth is, the moment he mirrors your energy, you've reached the edge between influence and dependence. This is where clarity matters, not control. If you don't understand what's happening, the same chemistry that drew him in can start pulling you under. Here's what really happens. When he begins craving your presence, his brain releases the same neurotransmitters as in reward addiction. Dopamine fuels the high of anticipation. Oxytocin builds attachment. Serotonin links you with safety. It's biology, not destiny. He isn't in love yet. He's in the chemical phase, associating you with peace and pleasure. The more consistent your energy remains, the deeper the imprint. That's why power lies in balance. Don't feed the loop too much. Don't withdraw completely. Shift from stimulation to grounding. If he's used to you leading the rhythm, slow the tempo. When he leans closer, respond with stillness. When he seeks reassurance, respond with calm observation. You're teaching his body a new rhythm, one where attraction matures into awareness. Control through connection is delicate. It's strongest when invisible. The moment you start chasing reaction, you lose direction. True mastery lies not in keeping his attention, but in knowing when to release it. Paradoxically, the more space you allow, the stronger the magnetism. The brain values what it cannot fully possess. When you create space with confidence, you become irreplaceable. This is the difference between being wanted and being remembered. Being wanted is temporary. Being remembered is timeless. To stay in control, anchor yourself. Keep focus internal, not external. Every touch, word, or look should ask, am I giving energy or seeking a response? If you're seeking, slow down. If you're giving, stay grounded. That awareness resets the loop before it consumes you. The touch alone didn't make him addicted. Your centered presence did. Lose that, and you lose the essence of connection. Keep it, and you become untouchable. There's another layer. When he feels your energy pull back, he instinctively wants to close the gap. That's his subconscious craving for balance. You don't need to push or act. Simply hold your calm and let him come to you. The silence between you becomes charged, not empty. That tension is the purest form of attraction because it's no longer about effort, it's about awareness. You've moved beyond physical chemistry into energetic presence. He'll start noticing subtle things, the way your tone slows his speech, the way your presence shifts his mood, the way a single glance changes his breathing. These are signs of someone fully attuned to another's system, but you must handle it responsibly. Energy this strong can heal or manipulate. Choose to refine it, not exploit it. Let your awareness serve understanding, not ego. At the highest level, seduction becomes serenity. The calm confidence of knowing connection isn't something you chase, it's something you create. That's where the cycle completes. The touch that began as curiosity becomes communication. The attention that began as focus becomes influence. The physical addiction becomes emotional memory. You're no longer teaching him how to touch, you're teaching how to be.